All right, y'all, no bloopers today. We're going right into AB731. We're going to do this together. Already bloopers. All right, y'all, we're going to finish up our fourth AI certification, our fourth Microsoft AI certification with the AB731. It is the AI Transformation Leader. My test was about 46 questions in an hour. Wasn't too bad, particularly if you've done the AI 900, the AB900, the AB730, and now the AB731. It's a lot of different AI, a lot of different AI stuff. A lot of stuff you're going to hear on this one is familiar. We're gonna punch through. We're gonna make it happen. I think, if you've done the other one, this will be pretty easy. I'm a little more in depth on a couple of the topics, but we'll get to it. Play the music. One thing I did not see on the other exams, the AB900, the AB730, and even the AI 900, is a lot on prompt engineering. And this one, I saw a lot about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering it improves, like it's when you talk to the AI, when you talk to Copilot, how do you ask it questions? And there's a specific way to do it to get a good answer. So it improves clarity, accuracy, and value of the output. So a good prompt has a clear task. It is given clear context. There are clear constraints that you provide to Copilot. You give an example, perhaps, of what you're looking for, and you ask for the format that you want. You be very specific when you're asking the AI, when you're asking Copilot a question. And then it's something that's even better, and they'll ask questions about this, is what context do you want the AI to answer your question? So, act as a physics professor when answering this question. So prompting is different from grounding. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Prompt engineering, a good prompt reduces hallucinations because Copilot will lie to you. They won't tell you this part about AI and Copilot, but it'll lie to you, and it always will tell you yes. It is always going to tell you yes. So prompt engineering is going to help you get the correct answer, for a second, third, or fourth attempt. You know what I mean? So better prompts, more accurate. They're more relevant and the outputs are better. Poor prompts are going to give you the hallucinated responses that aren't really useful. Prompt engineering, really important. Think about it as a business skill. Don't think about it like a technical skill. Let's go. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of that grounding I mentioned a few seconds ago. So you ground it through this RAG. You can ground through this RAG thing. It's Retrieval, Augmented Generation. You're going to see a couple of different questions for sure on this AB731 exam about this. So RAG, it augments the model with your organization's data. So it augments your Copilot model that you built with that data. So it grounds the data, makes it more current, makes it verifiable based in your organization's data. And so you're less likely, AI is less likely to hallucinate. So remember, you're changing the data source, not the model, and that makes it less expensive. So as they're going to ask that question, so you're not fine-tuning a model, you are changing the data source. So it grounds the data, reduces hallucinations, and makes it more relevant for your organization. So remember, and you use this RAG in your Copilot Studio with Microsoft Graph, and Microsoft Graph pulls from your data sources, your organization's data sources. That could be SharePoints, it could be internal websites, it could be internal knowledge bases, OneDrives, all that kind of stuff. So remember, you're going to get at least 4 or 5 questions based around RAG, this Retrieval Augmented Generation. Let's go. All right, so one of the things I saw in this test, I saw a couple of different questions around efficiency, return on investment, and tokens. So you're going to see questions about this on AB731, and I didn't see it on AB900 and AB730, but you're going to see it here. So tokens are basically the unit of measure for using, AI models. So for using Copilot, so it's calculated in tokens. So the longer prompt you write, it's going to cost more tokens, and the longer the output is going to be more tokens. So you're not going to have to calculate tokens on the exam, but you're going to have to know that a longer prompt is going to cost you more tokens, going to have higher cost, more compute. So if you've ever used Copilot and say Microsoft Word and, dumped your entire resume in there and said, fix my resume. Well, that might make, seems like pretty cool, great, hey, it's going to absolutely spit out a nice, cute little resume for you, but that is not cheap. That costs tokens. costs. So the more you dump into it, all that information you put in, more tokens. So back when I was talking about prompt engineering, all that context you want to add, you provide examples, be specific, act as an analyst, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, well, that costs money. So remember that. That's really important. So inefficient prompting can waste tokens and reduce that return on investment. So, you want to keep, you want to provide all that, and it's messed up. You want to provide all that information in order to get the information you need, but at the same time, it is not cheap. So that it's going to cost a lot of tokens. So in general, to reduce token costs and increase return on investment, you want to keep prompts concise. You want to use structured prompts. You want to use that RAG I talked about a bit earlier or later, depending on where you are in this video. So using this retrieval augmented generation, it's going to help reduce the number of tokens that you use and be more efficient. You might specify, hey, give me bullet points rather than writing a detailed report on something, because again, that's a big, lots of tokens. So you want to teach your teams to write efficient prompts and monitor. You want to monitor the patterns and how your team is using these prompts and what kind of outputs they're looking for, because again, that is going to increase the cost of your AI, increase the cost of Copilot, all that stuff. So remember, tokens cost money. Be efficient as you can, even when providing all this stuff that you need to provide to get a good prompt. It's really messed up how they do, but it's okay. Keep going. Let's go. Okay, so you're going to hear three different things it's going to sound like they're interchangeable, but they're not. You're going to hear Azure AI, you're going to hear Microsoft Foundry, and you're going to hear Copilot Studio. And sometimes you're going to hear like you can do all these things in Foundry and Copilot Studio and Azure AI, like they're all the same. They are not. So let's try to clear this up. So Azure AI, think of Azure AI as the broad platform for these enterprise AI workloads. So it's this broad platform that contains things like Azure AI Foundry, Azure OpenAI, the cognitive services, the responsible AI tools, the machine learning stuff. That's all under this broad umbrella of Azure AI. So remember that. Azure, Microsoft Foundry is a pro code platform for that. You can build and scale all your enterprise AI apps. So it's for engineers, it's for developers and all that. Like that's where those folks go to build their AI for their organization. That's Microsoft Foundry. Copilot Studio it's like Foundry Lite. At least that's how I see it. So it's low code business AI. You can build copilots for Microsoft 365. It's for somebody who isn't a developer but wants to do that, and you can do a lot with it. You can build all sorts of copilots to do all sorts of fancy things that are very similar to what you can do in Microsoft Foundry. But remember, Azure AI is that broad foundational thing that includes Microsoft Foundry. It doesn't include Copilot Studio. I think I might have said that either before or after somewhere in this video that you are listening or watching, however you're doing it. If I did, I apologize. I don't think it's technically included under there, but it doesn't really matter. But Azure AI is not the same as Microsoft Foundry, is not the same as Copilot Studio. So remember those three things and what you can do with them. Copilot Studio, low code; Microsoft Foundry, pro code for developers and engineers; and then the Azure AI is just kind of the broad umbrella that fits a whole bunch of all the fancy Microsoft AI stuff that it does, which includes Microsoft Foundry. All right, let's go. So some of the easier questions you can get right on this exam, they're going to ask you about barriers to adoption of AI, Copilot, all that stuff in your job. So, and there's a lot of different barriers, and you'll recognize them when you see them. Like you can imagine them pretty easily. What are some of the barriers to using AI? So, but I boil it down into a couple of different categories. So, capability, and this is how it's boiled down in an exam. So, there's capability, people think they can't use it. So how do you fix that? They need training. So motivation is another one of those. So, they won't use it. So how do you fix that? Through success stories and return on investment information, all those fancy math, all that. That's for the people who are skeptical or distrust AI, or who are fine with their current workflow, which is folks like me. Like, I already do enough. I don't want to add something else to it. Like folks like me, motivation was the real problem for me. And then finally is opportunity. There's no time. I don't have time for this. It's another thing I have to learn. And they're here, but no one wants to do this. I got time for all this. So they're gonna barriers to adoption, really important and they're gonna ask you to identify those, what those look like, and how you might remediate those. And so one of the ways you will do that, and one of the places for knowledge to come and fix, or improve or break down these barriers to adoption, is something called an AI council. You'll get a couple of questions specifically about an AI council, who should be on it. The idea is that everybody should be on it. There should be levels of participation from every level of your organization, from the top, C-suite on down. And it needs to be able to operate independently. There needs to be clear outcomes for use of AI. There needs to be strong sponsorship. There needs to be change management. There needs to be this whole kind of weaving of trust, building trust, coming out from this AI council. So they'll ask you about all that. And so really important. You'll get a couple of questions right. Remember those things about the AI council, barriers to adoption. Next up. I refuse to talk about the principles of responsible AI again. I just refuse. I can't. I will crack my skull open on this desk if I have to do it again. It's important for this exam. They give you vignettes this time. So know those principles. Go watch AB730. You'll know all about it. There are chapters on those videos. Go do that real fast. I'll wait. See? Responsible AI. Yay! You know the principles. Yay! Next. You're done. We're done. You're going to go in, pass that AB731 exam. You're going to come back, tell us how you did in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check me out at wheatstrawcsc.com. Let me come help you out. All right. See you in the next video.